Welcome back to Gotcha Covered Sports, your one-stop shop for gambling, fantasy, and sports talk. Starring Danny B. and Matt McCarthy.
And we are back again, Danny, at Gotcha Covered Sports.
Oh, where else would I rather be than be on a bus for a few hours to get to New York to record a show with you and get stuck in traffic?
Any news?
Saw a death on the highway, actually. It was frightening.
An animal or a person?
A person, I think, a couple of them. Very sad, very sad.
Oh, way to bring us in with a bright segue, Dan. Okay, we're talking Gotcha Covered Sports, and we have a special guest on the horn with us, none other than Matt Cerrone of MetsBlog and SNY. Matthew, can you hear us?
I can hear you, and I have to say real quick before we get into this, the Fletch jersey is fantastic. He's 6'9" with the Afro 6'5". That's great. The fact that you have that is fantastic.
Yeah, well, that's the way we roll here at Gotcha Covered Sports and the Fantasy Sports Network, Matt. Matt, it's been a while since we've seen each other. We have all three of us here, Danny B., yours truly, and you have the same affliction. It's as much of a drug problem as anything else. It's being a Mets fan.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. I was just talking with a good friend of mine today about this, and because I've been writing a lot and talking about just how exhausting it is writing about the team every day for 15 years in a professional capacity while being a Mets fan. And I was just saying to him, man, it's exhausting. Because it's never simple, And what I was talking about was the 11-1 start. It's like, okay, fine. Obviously, they're not going to win 99% of their games all season long, right? But play 500. Just play 500 the rest of the way. Everything will be fine. Nope. No. We're not. Only are we not going to play 500. We're going to be the worst offense you've ever seen in a 3-week stretch. And it's like they just, and none of it is unexpected. It happens, and you're like, yeah, well, makes sense.
Well, listen, he's only had a problem for 15 years. I've had a problem since 1970, 1969.
No. I've been watching since the early 80s. I've been writing about the team for 15 years.
Yeah, he's had his business.
But at least when you were a young kid, they were winning 85, 86 World Series, 87, 88. Me and Matt in the mid-70s, when we were 10 years old, we didn't have much to look for except for Tom Seaver throwing.
We got the Derry Lee.
That's why I feel more duped, right? Sometimes because you get suckered into 86. Oh my God, this is amazing, the miracle, and then no, not so much.
Well, see, we're so scarred that we don't have that. We just have when is the bottom going to fall out of the boat or the canoe, and
I'm still optimistic. I'll give him that. I mean, but I think that's just a personality trait. Because why otherwise? Why watch? That's my philosophy.
When you're gambling, you can watch it. It doesn't matter. When you're gambling, it don't matter.
Well, you don't have to watch it all. It's your right as a consumer and as a viewer, as a fan. I used to be a Miami Heat fan. I grew up when they entered the league. I lived in Connecticut, but I didn't watch the NBA. And so when they joined the league, my cousin decided he wanted to root for the Magic. I'd root for the Heat. New teams, let's just go with it. And I just stopped watching the NBA in the early 2000s because I didn't really like the game. It just wasn't entertaining to me anymore. I didn't enjoy it. I just moved on. It's not like we're required to do these things, but baseball is different. It's daily. It seems like it takes forever. There's little mini stories that go on in a game, in a season, in an era. I find that there's a lot of compelling things to watch, even if the team's playing badly. So I can tolerate it that way. It's
disappointment. Face it, it's disappointment. Yeah. 15 years of disappointment.
He's had a couple of runs.
Hey, but here, listen, guys, both of you listen to me very carefully because this is what I do. The Mets will turn it around. They will play over 500. They will win 85 to 86 games, possibly contend for a wild card spot. Okay. Now, if you believe that.
Oh, he's yanking our chain here.
No, I'm not. I still believe they'll play over 500 at the end of this October 1st.
You think they'll be over 500?
I do. They have to because I bet on them to win over 81 games. If not, I'm out about 10 grand. So I have to be optimistic.
That's hope for a different reason.
Yeah. So
I got you.
I'll hedge the bet if I have to. That's the beauty of this. You can hedge against the Mets and bet against them.
From a practical standpoint, Matt, is there anything for him to base his optimism and his money on in this? In that, are there going to be any? There's no way they're going to be buyers at the trade deadline.
No, nor should they. Well, to answer your first question, I don't think so. I mean, I would like that to not be the case. The reality is that they need to go 60-30 by September 1st just to make September interesting. I mean, that's kind of a tall order for any team, let alone one that just came off a historic run of not scoring any runs. And the old credo, right? Like, you're not as good when you're on a winning streak and as bad when on a losing streak, probably somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle is not going to be good enough. Somewhere in the middle is going to get them, at this point, 75, 80 wins.
Well, I have to disagree. I have them at the 500 mark by the All-Star break, okay? So we're a little over the halfway point on that date. I have the Mets at the 500 mark by the All-Star break. Trust me.
I hope you're right.
They got to go something like 20-8 between now and then.
It's doable. It's definitely doable. Why not?
I'd actually like to thank you very much, because it's very rare that I get to be in the position of the negative contrarian. So this is this is nice.
No, listen. Again, me and Matt, we've been Met fans playing wiffle ball. I was Rusty Staub and Felix Mion, Buddy Harrelson. Nice. But I still have to believe they will. I don't know about the playoffs. I'm being a little bit optimistic.
That's all right, Dan. You're allowed. David Sky King Arthur King Kong Kingman.
What number? What number?
What? No, 26.
26.
Come on. And then actually he came
How many
back.
times was he a Met?
Twice.
3 times, wasn't he?
Matt?
3 times a Met. He's once, twice, 3 times a Met.
Twice.
No?
Twice.
Didn't he go to the Cubbies and come back to the Mets in San Francisco?
That's when he came back.
No, it was 2.
No,
okay.
It was 2.
And where did he start off his career? Okay, where did he start off his career?
San Francisco Giants.
All right. And who did he play with? Barry Bonds.
Okay.
Really?
All right.
Oh, man, that's
Willie McCovey and Willie Mays.
And he was initially a pitcher. Google it.
George Theodore, the Stork.
Matt, if you're the manager of the New York Mets and you have this roster in your hand, is there anything that you would do differently?
Well, prior to this afternoon, I would have told you to put Jay Bruce on the DL, which he has. That's not the manager's call, but that has been causing all kinds of chaos through the lineup. When Bruce is healthy, I would tell him to play first base, because I want, at the very least, Conforto and Nimmo in that lineup every day. Where Cespedes, my understanding is while this isn't necessarily been reported, just the way it all sounds to me is he's got some sort of chronic possible hip impingement, something else going on that's a larger issue. It would make sense given all the injuries he's had. It reminds me of A-Rod a couple years ago. I think he's got that kind of situation going on. So I wouldn't expect much from him between now and the end of the year anyway. And if he does come back, he probably gets hurt again at some point.
So he's got Wright-itis.
So as a manager, so as a manager, I'm trying to, get as much speed and, short, compact swings. I want to load my lineup with as many guys that can put the ball in play at this point, because I want to give myself as many chances to make things happen. They're swinging from their heels. They're all launch angle and home runs, and they're not that good. So they're not scoring. And if that's the case, I'm steering against that. I'm going to, let Nimmo bat lead off, which he is. I'm going to tell Conforto to cool it on, the big cuts. He's finally starting to do that. And don't you know, he's hitting home runs, because that tends to happen. So, I want to slow the game down, not necessarily speed it up, but kind of, get these guys working pitches and kind of do more basic stuff. The pitchers have been great. Mesoraca's been awesome with the starting pitching staff. The bullpen's a concern. It's hard to say, because Mickey's been going against everything he said he would do with the bullpen in spring. So I don't know what's going on out there. They're probably just overextended, quite honestly, and need some new blood. So I don't really know that there's much to do. I mean, I just think the situation is what it is. Honestly, if I'm the manager, I'm thinking about next year, and I'm trying to build relationships with the guys that are going to be here, and trying to kind of lay that groundwork and keep reinforcing kind of what I'm about and where we're going to be going with this.
You guys have no hope in the Mets. Hope floats. Remember that. Hope floats. Remember that? But no, I got to disagree with you. And I know you follow the Mets closer than most people, but I just have that feeling we're going to see something special before the All-Star break. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I have to believe in this team. I'm running out of time. I'm 55 years old. They need another World Series before I die, okay? They have to win. So I'm banking on them to win.
With you.
Please, I'm begging.
This shouldn't be that unreasonable of an ask. They are a big market team with their own network and their own stadium. That's the thing that drives me bananas, because they treat it as though it's Minnesota or Cleveland or Kansas City. Are we out of the Ponzi stuff yet? What is this small market mentality?
I think, well, it's hard to answer. I don't think it's so much that it's the Ponzi, the Madoff stuff necessarily. I think as a general practice, they're probably, I'm just guessing that they're somewhat over leveraged, and that may impact things. The reality is that for all the conspiracy theories and all the things people want to say, I mean, baseball for the most part, and the MLB Players Association, even more importantly, police those books. They make sure everything is in balance and that people aren't so over leveraged that it's damaging to payroll. Like there's actually a thing called the debt service rule in the CBA that keeps these guys honest about that. So, I don't think that they're leveraged to the extent that they can't spend on a $1 million a year player, because they wouldn't be owning the team at that point. The players union would freak out. So I know that just based on reality isn't the problem. I think, and this is, to be totally honest with you, I think a bigger issue than passion, I think it's just the way that the Wilpon ownership operates. I mean, I just think it's a philosophy to sort of, aim to the middle, try to extrapolate value. I think it really coincides as a marriage of convenience, maybe with Sandy Alderson, who kind of applies the same theories. I mean, I think if Sandy had a larger budget, he'd probably spend more, but I don't think he would spend a lot more. I mean, if they said to him, you have a $250 million budget, I don't even know that he'd spend it all, because he's got values and principles about second generation contracts and all these things. To answer your question, or to get back to what you're saying, all of this bothers me. And I would like to see somebody get in there that's a little bit more progressive, that is going to say, fine, you want to give us a $160 million payroll? It's your prerogative. It's your team. Let's, maximize that in a way that is smart and does this properly, as opposed to what Alderson's been doing, which is essentially build a homegrown pitching staff and place random bets, it seems, on hitters on short-term contracts that don't pan out. Like, it's just not working.
Good point.
So, look, I'm going to deal with you want new owners, you don't, whatever. We don't own the team. We have no control over that. But, give me a front office. Give me somebody that's going to work within this reality and work within this economics of baseball, because these guys are just, I don't know. I just don't feel it.
All right,
maybe he is betting against the Mets to win.
He could be.
Did anybody think about that?
Why got you covered sports?
Right. I mean, think about it.
It's forever. So.
All right, hold on, guys. Matt, can you hang with us for a second? We got to take a quick commercial break, and then I'm going to come back.
Yeah, I got a few minutes.
We want to talk to you about why Sandy Alderson still has a job, and what other sport you're passionate about if your passion approaches the New York Mets. And we'll be right back on Got You Covered Sports with Matt Cerrone.